Hi, everyone. Aviv here. I'm an offensive security expert. Sounds big, but basically someone who focused on API and application layer threats. Here at C-Cyber, we help teams find and fix vulnerabilities before attackers do. And today we're gonna show and tell how you can achieve the same with Wallarm. So happy to be here and looking forward to chatting with you guys.
Thank you, Avi. Thank you for co-hosting this webinar with me today. And a quick couple words about myself. My name Ben. I'm a VP and a product owner for our testing products here at Wallarm. And we have been working pretty hard to deliver some amazing new features to our suite. As you might know, Wallarm has been in application security space for quite a while, since 2016. And I have been working with Wallarm for about 6 years and been building different products. And nowadays, one of the main focus for me today is API security testing. So I'm welcoming all of you who has joined, and hopefully you will have great time with Avi and me today. But let's start with the agenda for the webinar today. So we will speak about what the challenges we have observed in API security over the last years, what the specific modern challenges of the API security we see, and the need of testing your application before they go live in production. We will shed some light about how our newest product features work, and we will be happy to address any of the specific questions that you will have. And starting with the API space, just wanted to highlight that number. So this is 2023, and we have discovered that there are more than 1.3 billion of active APIs even a couple years ago, and obviously it has expanded even more than that since that. What is interesting that majority of the APIs are in behind some private services, behind the firewalls, which we call internal, but quite a huge amount of the APIs are external as well. And we at Wallarm are working on delivering products for both internal API discovery and protection, as well as external API discovery protection, and nowadays testing. And another starting point I wanted to highlight is we have been analyzing all the different threat reports with our organizations like OWASP, and what we have discovered that API security has expanded and become one of the main topics for modern security stack. And basically, API related vulnerabilities are now one of the major contributors to the top list of OWASP threats. And Avi, have you seen in your experience the growth of API security needs, and how would you say this evolved over the recent years?
Absolutely, Ben. Thank you for the question. So yes, absolutely. As you can see, not only the growth, but their priority and severity types of these issues. Now, it's easy to think that it's 2025 and we're not supposed to see these types of issues with all the AppSec tools and solutions and platforms out there. But unfortunately, it's still out there, and most of us are affected, and probably AppSec is broken. That's the right reason for it. So thank you for switching the slide. So how do we go about it? Why is it that we're still facing these issues? And if I could share stories and details about the stories, I would, but unfortunately I can't. But what's most important is that there are many solutions out there, or I would say possible or potential solutions. The whole idea is that none of them are perfect. There's always something that's missing. And when we say it's missing, we can talk about too late. So some of the solutions are talking about, let's secure your environment, your APIs and your apps after they're deployed, which we all know it's too late, right? The risk is bigger, the time to fix, the time to remediate. And of course, the most important part is the risk. The whole idea is about reducing risk, and when you test and scan and whatnot after deployment, most of the times it's already too late. Now, if you go over all these 4 sections, although they're pretty obvious, we should pay attention to each and every one of them because we still see it out there. So too noisy. The whole idea is that, okay, it's great. You found the issues. Now you're reporting them. And the reporting part, I would say the workflows that are being created are not great. You see most of the time, AppSec teams, we say teams, but it's a team of 1 or 2 people, and they get pretty quickly overwhelmed by all the amount of issues, whether they're false positive or true positives. It's most of the time doesn't really matter because they get overwhelmed. So the idea is also to consolidate and cluster all these issues to something that is more, let's say, achievable by a team of 1 or 2 people. So you can see this is why being too noisy, it's not great. So that's another issue that our customers are facing. Now, too manual, don't even go there. You see beautiful UIs, you see tests are being ran, but you don't know the effort that goes behind it to set up such a platform or a tool or script or whatnot. And I've seen too many of them that requires too much effort to deploy and then too much effort to maintain, which means it's time consuming, it takes forever, it doesn't always work as expected. So now it's up to you to maintain the tool that you purchased to help you, and it's not really working. Now, I would say, even if we pass the first 3, now we're talking about developers. So the shift left movements mean that we're working closer with developers and working closely with them, meaning that we understand what they need, so do not interrupt them. The solution that the chosen solution has to be very clear, easy to use, with minimal, requires minimum interaction from the developers. So for them, it's like it's not there, but it's there. It's running in the background. It should not slow them down. Requires them to add more steps to their already overloaded workflows and pipelines. And mostly, there are many more reasons, but these 4 are the ones that we see all the time. And you can see the stats at the bottom. Pretty obvious, pretty makes sense. This is why our current solutions are not enough. And we titled it under AppSec is broken, and this is why.
Yeah, and we actually have seen similar things in our customers' data, and I have been having quite a lot of conversations about that with the prospects of Wallarm or with our existing customers. And majority of the issue that they have lined during the interviews is that currently all the organizations start to have a very complex infrastructure, and obviously APIs is a big portion of that, but nowadays there are more and more modern tools become available, and everyone is looking how to protect them efficiently. Second issue is something that Avi just mentioned about the too noisy, and basically false positive rate for majority of the products in the past have been quite significant. And what we are aiming for today is to build the product that have as less false positive as possible. And ultimately, we will implement some machine learning capabilities or LLM capabilities into it to automate majority of that process. And what I have heard dozens of requests for is obviously the shift left integrations and how customers can automate the overall testing for them. Because sure, you can do the penetration testing every once in a while and identify OWASP and API top 10, but make it on scale, make it not just every once in a while, but as a part of your CI/CD is quite a big pain in the neck that not that easy to address. And yes, there are quite a lot of products in this category today, but we have discovered that not all of them actually deliver on the expectations. That's why we even started to work into this and build up our own products to contribute to our API security platform. And obviously, we want to avoid things like manual testing bottleneck that I mentioned before, and combining with our web application firewall capabilities and analyzing the traffic that we can do, we get much better visibility into the application that are run by our customers. So it ultimately helps to create the frictionless experience and analysis for them. And basically, our API testing product today obviously has capabilities of being implemented and fully automated, implemented into CI/CD and fully automated. And we have a pretty comprehensive vulnerabilities coverage for OWASP API and OWASP top 10 vulnerabilities. We have quite supreme visual management that allow you to really understand what has been not working or where you have some vulnerabilities to fix. And obviously, we want to support you with any specific reporting that required for either for the internal usage or to use for the compliance purposes. Avi, do you find this list of features interesting? What have you experienced using some other
Absolutely.
products on the market today?
So that's a great question. If I were to choose maybe 2 out of the 6 topics that we see here, I would say CI/CD ready was the one that, captured my attention. Being able to, get my APIs up and running, building up a policy or maybe a test that I want to execute from the time that I knew which app I wanted to test to setting up the test. And we'll see it today in the demo. Less than 5 minutes to set up the whole, I would say, test plan. And then 3 to 5 minutes to actually execute a test, see the results, and making a smart decision or educated decision to move forward with the deployment or not. So being CI/CD ready, if you guys out there, out of the, how many people we have? 57 that currently watching the webinar. Unless you've tried that before, you won't appreciate how speed and being CI/CD ready, the value of it. It takes, I've tried more than one solution, to put it gentle, and it doesn't take 5 minutes. Sometimes it takes days to set up. Sometimes not even that. So being up and running in 5 minutes, you guys should consider it as magic, because it's usually not the case. On top of that, the whole idea of being automatic and dynamic testing, I love it. There are a few more magic things that Wallarm can do and outside of the scope, which would be more than happy to, to show on another day. But for today, being able to run tests whenever, however, how many we want, and in such ease, this is magic. So my focus will be on the first 2, although the other 4 are as impressive.
Yeah, and I also wanted to point out that one of the focus for us was to address modern business logic attacks, as those are especially complicated to discover. And as I have mentioned before, quite a lot of products claiming that they have some sort of capabilities like that, but in practice they don't actually deliver. So that's why we tried and did our best to actually have capabilities for these purposes. And a couple words about what and how you can actually run tests with us today. So basically, you can run tests based on the specs. It's typically the OpenAPI or Postman spec. Second is you can run this with thread replay testing. Thread replay testing utilizes our Wallarm node that sees on your production environment and basically filtering all the traffic. And what it does, it capturing attacks from your traffic and take the payload, but without the harmful effect, and creating synthetic tests that ultimately send to your, for example, staging environment. So then you can utilize your attackers as automated penetration testers, which ultimately, even without setting up any policies or any test runs, will be constantly run automatically based on the traffic if you just set this up once.
Ben, I mean,
And
I would
yes.
love to add something. So this is awesome. It doesn't exist everywhere. And here at C-Cyber, we analyze the market, and it sits there. It's one out of three ways to test. I'm not sure you guys, feel free to let us know if you've tried it before. What other products you've seen, and was it missing or not? Because this thing, it might be one of the three ways, but this is amazing. Think about, hopefully you guys never get attacked, but if you are getting attacked, and let's say you're working on a fix, you want to know if it really works. You can replay the attack on the lower environments and know for sure, not just try and guess and cross your fingers, hopefully it won't happen again. Now I can verify and validate that a certain attack will never happen again. So this is just beyond amazing. And let us know if you need us to shed more light on it. Be more than happy to.
Yeah, thank you, Avi. And yes, and thread replay testing is one of the first features that works in combination with our filtering node that relies on the traffic data. But our ultimate goal is to allow uh, our users to run tests based on the live traffic, uh, and in that case, you would be able to avoid of creating the swagger of Postman specs prior to testing. So ultimately, for example, you would use a Wallarm in combination with a Wallarm node installed. We will be able to allow you to run tests even without prior preparations, which ultimately speed up the overall testing process for you even further and help to identify some of the missing APIs that you might have there. For example, if you have some shadow APIs that you that are getting traffic but not a part of your spec, obviously they would not be tested. But this approach will allow us to identify those. And we are currently working on in this direction, and it will be available later this year.
Hey Ben, I
So,
see.
and
I noticed we have two questions from Thad Sisa. I hope I pronounced it right. They look to be a little bit outside of the API testing, but it seems like more related to your external surface. What was it? External APIs. You have
yeah, so we have
that
another
beautiful feature.
product,
So
API,
yes.
yes, API Attack Surface Management. Yeah, it happens that I am also working with that. But what was the
So
question,
yeah,
Avi?
Thad is asking, how does it look at and or monitor traffic? For example, he's asking testing external APIs at Tech Surface.
Yeah, so
So
we do have capabilities to test your external APIs with Attack Surface, and we have a separate product for that, which we call API Attack Surface Management. What it allows you to do, it basically based on identifying your external surface first and identifying API that live in the external surface, will run OWASP top 10 vulnerability detection scan against those APIs. It will not be able to identify BOLA, as it's a little bit more complicated type of vulnerability that requires Postman collection to run properly, but it will identify about top 10 vulnerabilities in your external APIs. And obviously, it will help to identify some external APIs that could be unintentionally left in your surface.
for example, any type of I would say security misconfigurations. So since it's a external attack surface, the whole idea is just like a hacker trying doing reconnaissance on your organization, looking for all the APIs. So at that point, Wallarm will act the same. And the whole idea is to do it before the real hackers do it. So if we find something, we fix it prior to getting attacked. You know, no one likes to be in the news for these reasons. So that I hope that answers your question.
All right, but next is actually the demo part. Would you like to switch this
Absolutely.
share screening?
Just before I do that, I see Dan Wade agreed to something. Not sure what it was. So
Yeah,
if you
it's
want to
been
shed
like
more
15
light on,
minutes. Yeah, 10 minutes ago.
10 minutes ago. Yeah, I was curious. I was just waiting to ask him these questions. Okay, let me make sure I have the right screen in front of me, and I'll share my screen. Ben, I think you have to close yours, and then I'll
Okay,
let
sure.
Sure. Okay. Is my screen visible?
Yeah, I can see it. That's all good.
Okay, so to everyone who's still here with us, thank you for staying. And now we're looking at the demo. Now, as you can see on my left, Wallarm provides way more than testing APIs, but the focus today is on API security and specifically shift left movement. And this is where we scan APIs. So what you see in front of us, it's our API test control, and it consists of test runs and test policies. And I will explain a little bit more before we actually start the demo. So think about a test policy as your entire set of configuration for an application. A test policy could be a specific environment in a specific configuration, for example, specific API endpoints in a spec, specific type of authentication that you want to use, different types of users, and the different types of vulnerabilities that you want to test against your application. So we have curly ones ahead of time, but let me just show you how what one might consist. So OpenAPI specs and Postman collections are two different types of sources that we're going to utilize to set up your test environment. And assume we're taking a Postman collection as a source. So of course, we need a collection. And our optional here, it's two types of environment files representing two different types of users or levels or whatever you want to define in them. So assuming you create one, and let's look at the one that I created earlier today or yesterday. And you can see the name I give. I could have just named it app1 prod, app1 stage, app1 dev, and whatnot. And that's how we continue with the rest of them. I have my collection. And as you can see by the naming convention, we're going to use Crappy. For the ones out there that are not familiar with Crappy by OWASP, it's a completely ridiculous API. The whole idea is an API or an application that was designed to be vulnerable to begin with. So this is where you go and practice your security skills. And today we're going to be running tests against Crappy. And the current deployment of Crappy, you can see it right here, sits on Wallarm's domain. Feel free to browse, use, and abuse. It uses the same rules and logics of any Crappy deployment. So some basic, I would say, concept or basic rules. You're going to test an API. Your API or application that consists of these APIs has to be up and running, available and reachable from the endpoint where you're trying to test. So it's either it's always up and running, or you set it up and run it just before you run a test. So if we are to look at a CI/CD pipeline, you could have external environment that is up and running with the code or the version and the commit that you're about to test, or your CI/CD pipeline will bring up the environment, test that it's reachable, and then as a next step, it will run a scan or a test against it. I hope this makes sense to everyone. Now let's look at how a test might look like. And by the way, I will show how I'm running a test live. A test takes 3 to 4 minutes. I'll run it, and then we'll also open the floor for some questions. So you can see the duration of a test for 4 minutes. You can see when I ran it, when it started, ended, the title and ID if you want to use Wallarm's APIs to query it. You can see what policy it used, the URLs that we scanned, how many requests you ran against it, and of course a summary of the issues and findings. So let's see what I always love the slides. Let's see what we're getting, what a test result looks like. So this is the dashboard for the current API test patrol and the test that we run. As you can see, the ID as we've seen before. So a nice overview of the hosts and how many issues we had against each host. Of course, issues by types, which is always great, and statistics. So you can see the split of your issues for the entire scan. Now, if you're familiar with OWASP top 10, you can see the number here. So every issue and how it's related to OWASP top 10. Of course, you can filter, slice, and dice all the information as you want. Let's look at maybe the first one, or if anyone wants to look at something very specific, I can try and find a vulnerability here. So mass assignment by manipulation of hidden attributes. Basically, it's mass assignment. And let's see what Wallarm tells us about it, how the issue looks like, how they figure it out, and what type of valuable information we can take from it. Because as you all know, the whole idea is to find out what's wrong and how to fix it. So for every issue in the platform, you see the severity. If it's false, hey, mark it as false. Although we hope to never see this. You want to close the issue, you want to share it with others, all good stuff. Now you can see again the host, the endpoint that was tested, of course, the method and the parameter question, the type of issue, how it's related to OWASP, CWE, when it was discovered and by what. And if we're not seeing it or still seeing it, no, that's great. So for everyone here who is not familiar with CRAPI, remember that's specifically designed vulnerable application. So what we see here is that we found the parameter, and that's the parameter that is accepted by the following endpoint. And this is the method that was used. And if you guys are familiar with APIs, put, it's when you want to update an object. So we're trying to update object 52. And the whole idea is that the current parameter doesn't show up in the spec. It's not there by design, but somehow we were able to inject it. So with mass assignment, that means that in our code, we accept almost every key and value that the user gives us, which it's a big no-no, as you know. You have a spec, so you know input params, but the body payload and the response payload, and there should be anything else other than these two. So you don't just take the object and save it in the database. You're supposed to loop all the keys and then figure out the only ones that are valid and use them, or if you see something invalid, you reject the entire request. You have a quick reference to why this is an issue, so don't trust us. Go to the sources. And of course, the mitigation, hey, don't blindly copy user data. You always have to verify and validate, which is great. And by the way, I tested it out. We'll see how, if time is in our favor, I'll be more than happy to live show this one because I literally tested it. I tried other parameters, didn't work, and this one actually worked. So it's nice. Of course, I can go over the entire list, but let's see the ones that I really like. Of course, I hate all of them, but the most interesting ones, usually it's BOLA and BOFLA, broken object and broken function level authorization, which are very hard to find. Not only that, very hard to fix in the code and very hard to detect. So let's see how this one might look like. As before, you get the nice overview at the top, but the juicy stuff, all the good stuff, it's here. So what is BOLA? The whole idea is for a user to be able to manipulate, create, edit, update, delete only object that he owns. For example, my invoices, my last purchases, my basket, my user account, right? And if I can edit and update others, unless I'm an admin, which by the way, probably would have a different endpoint, I'm not supposed to do it. And the way Wallarm detects it, it's by, remember when you created the test policy? we added two environments. Each environment represents a different user. And so this is where Wallarm comes in place and authenticate with one, authenticate with another, and try to query objects that doesn't belong to these users. And they were successful. So you can see a logged in user was able to query a resource that does not belong to them. And that should not happen. Either it's specified in the spec or based on behavior. So you just create objects and you query them and you see that you're not supposed to, but you're able. Now, for something like that, the magic here is showing the developer or the security specialist how it happened. So you can see I'm authenticated, I have my token, I ran a request, and usually I'm supposed to get a no for 3 or 500, or don't even tell the user what happened. It's not supposed to return 200 and show me some data that does not belong to me. So that's the biggest problem. And now this is where we show the user what happened, why it's wrong, how to reproduce it, and how to fix it. I know the floor is not open, but guys, feel free to shoot some questions if there's anything specific you wanted to see or discuss further. What else? Excessive data exposure. This is amazing. This is one of the things that you do not want to do. I'll touch it in a second. What else I saw that I really liked? Ben, any specific type of issue that you want me to go over or you think would be great?
I think that you already did a pretty good overview, so I would just see if anyone has any specific questions.
Absolutely. Oh, by the way, SQL injection, whether it's Postgres or MongoDB or whatnot, this thing might seem ridiculous, but I can't tell you how many nights I spent trying to find how hackers got in, and it was by a simple SQL injection. This thing is one of the most dangerous things that I've seen. After BOLA and Buffalo, being able to create a denial of service by doing slip or extracting data that I'm not supposed to. It's not even my object, but local file inclusion, remote file inclusion. There's so many remote code execution. There's so many things you can do with SQL injection. And it seems like it's easy to forget, easy to ignore, because we assume that our code is secure. We assume that the libraries that we use already handled it. But assuming it's the worst thing you can do, and the whole idea is to verify and validate. So because you haven't, you'll be utilizing a Wallarm API test patrol to run scans, tests, and let you know ahead of time. So utilizing Wallarm in a CI/CD pipeline, or even in your own laptop or a terminal, this is how you get to do it as early as possible. This is all about the shift left movement before everyone else. And if I go back to, bear with me, test patrol, and we look at our test policies. So I just mentioned CI/CD pipelines, or automation, or running a scan from your console. So how something like that would look like. If you're familiar with CI/CD pipelines, and it doesn't matter the brand, the company, the tool, they all end up to work the same way. You have steps, whether they name steps or not, it doesn't matter. But the whole idea is that you spin up a machine, you check out your code, you set up the environment. After that, you either create users or you have static users, you pull them from database, you run API calls, it doesn't matter. Your whole environment is up and running and set up, and now you want to test it before you commit and go to production. So the last step, you can name it Wallarm API testing or API security testing or whatever. But that step is not dependent on the following command, which will return 1 or 0, successful or fail. And then you know to continue with the deployment, with the pipeline, or fail it and show the reasons why. So I'm going to take that, assuming that I copy and paste it into my CI/CD pipeline or onto my terminal. So let me find my terminal, bring it here, share it with you guys. It's gonna take a second. Where are you? There you go. So you guys can see my terminal. And okay, images, one of them. So first time you run it, you're not going to have the wall of image. But if you do, it's easy. The next ones are going to be faster. I'm pasting my scan. And as you can see, I hope you can see, I can see it. I have a client ID. I have the policy ID. And this is the image I'll be pulling. And the Wallarm API token. So what you see here, it's all my environment variables, meaning how I authenticate against Wallarm, making sure that I'm scanning, that I'm authorized to update Wallarm's dashboard with the finding of my scans and how to identify that specific scan. So I'm going to run it. And I have the image. Now you see a nice verbose messaging of everything that's happening. From I was able to authenticate, I can see the test profile, I received the profile, all the policies. So now he knows all the Postman collection, the Postman environments, downloading the files, and now we started. And you see the more tests or the more APIs that you have, the longer the scan will run. So we'll see progress here as it goes. And once it's done, and it will take 3 minutes, we can see the results in the Wallarm UI. While this is running, I'm going to look at our Q&A and see if there are any questions. Okay, so I see a question from Sai, and it goes like that. What is the process when one marks finding as false positive? Does that data go back to improving your detection? Ben, do you want to answer that, or I should give it a try?
Yeah, so typically we collect all the information about the test that we run and either false positive or some real attacks, and we ultimately utilize this information to adjust our upcoming improvements to our testing products. The only thing that I would like to highlight that even if we do capture some payloads, we do not capture any sensitive data. So so we don't actually utilizing any of the real important information that our customers have. So we just getting the information about the payload itself.
So it's all about the metadata, the idea of something happened, how it happened, not necessarily sensitive information.
Correct.
So I hope that answers your question. Feel free to let us know in the chat. As you can see, we're seeing the progress. It's still running, 1738, 1740. So we're at 2 minutes in and probably almost wrap it up. I'll go refresh the screen again. You can see that it's still running and all the good stuff. And let's keep monitoring it. And of course, it's a live demo, so I'm crossing my fingers, as with all demos. I'm joking. I've run so many of these. It's nice. So you're seeing something, the demo looks very simple, very basic. And that's how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be simple, basic, because it's supposed to work. The last thing that you want is your CI/CD pipeline failing because your setup is off, because someone touched something somewhere at some point and broke the logic behind it. And that's what I love about Wallarm solution. It looks simple, it works, and it's fast. So the whole idea from setting up, which takes a minute to set it up, and let's say 4 minutes if the downloading of the Wallarm image is slow, which it won't, and the scan, And right now we have Wallarm's, not Wallarm's, we have crappy APIs. So let's say 30 to 40 APIs. And as Wallarm's advance and progress, you're going to have more and more requests running because every request means more tests or more functionality that has been ran against your APIs. And that's the whole idea.
Okay, great. And there was a question about how intrusive the tests if used in production environment. And I just dropped the answer that we're utilizing both get and post endpoints. So as post endpoints, by their design, I intended to change the state of the application. Requests from them can corrupt the application's data. So the answer is, yeah, it is could be intrusive as we are testing this with real.
Ben, I'll be more than happy to share
Yeah,
more
go ahead.
details on that. So you're not supposed to run tests against your production. So every environment per production, use and abuse it. Yet, and we'll look at the test results in a second. Yet, I don't know if the right word is to encourage you, but do run a test against production. That's personally me, not Wallarm, not anyone. I would run because there is always differences between the environments. The way users are created, permissions are given, the login flow, and guess what? If you're worried about running tests against production, your attackers are not worried about anything. They use and abuse it. So it's best you know first before your attackers. If something is broken, I would say run it every week or every 2 weeks, but make sure your production is either solid or you have a pre-production environment that is extremely similar to production. And even when you use and abuse, because you upload an API spec, you can eliminate few of the APIs that are, if fake data has been generated, it's been very intrusive. You can eliminate, let's say, if you have APIs that connect to a bank account and withdraw money, so maybe skip that or have a different test for it. But I highly, yet I highly encourage you to do it. So as you can see, what was it, 1743 and 38, let's call it 5 minutes. Oh, there you go. It is 5 minutes. And we can see how many already more requests than yesterday. And probably someone is playing with my environment because we can see difference in security issues. So same as before, same dashboard, the same split, the same, I would say, high overview, and of course, all the interesting details about your APIs, how they were attacked, and ways for mitigation. I think we can conclude the demo. Ben, unless you want me to show any more interesting features and functionalities of the testing.
I think that you did an amazing job of showing and running this live. So let me just share
Sure thing.
back my screen with you in a second, and we can go from there. So so yeah, that's been an overview and our vision about where the API security testing is going to, how we see this, and what the recent we have been working on, and some upcoming future plans. As you could see, it's extremely easy to run. Basically, you can set this up as a part of CI/CD and run it in minutes, and run it on schedule or any way you prefer. So we still open to any additional questions while we have a few minutes left for this webinar. But meanwhile, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to our upcoming webinar with my colleague Tim Erlin, who is VP of Product here at Wallarm, on modern APIs and modern threats, and how we addressing those with our solutions and why WAFs and API gateways are not always enough, and how we thinking and working towards that direction. But meanwhile, as I said, if you have any additional questions, we're happy to address them as well. Or
Yes,
if you
Ben,
like,
I see a great question from Chris on the Q&A.
yeah,
Are we
yes,
able to customize alerts? So I want to believe he's talking about workflows, what happens after we found an issue. So probably Slack, emails,
yeah, you can customize alerts.
any
Yeah.
what are the different types of workflows that we have? I know it's outside of the scope
So we
for
have
API
we
testing.
have Slack, emails, and we have an API. So basically, you can bring it in any form that you prefer.
Sounds good.
And any other questions? Yeah, while we waiting for any additional questions, I just wanted to highlight that Wallarm will have a big booth at Black Hat just in a couple weeks, and we will address the booth in the topic as a cybersecurity museum. So it's gonna be a lot of amazing stuff that we're bringing to Black Hat this year. So if you like to learn a little bit more about our products, or speak more in depth and have an in-person solution overview, feel free to stop by at our booth. And if you have a current project that you would like to see whether Wallarm is a great tool for, feel free to stop by at wallarm.com and request a demo, and mention to our sales team that you are interested in testing products, and we're happy to have a deeper conversation regarding your particular project.
Sounds good. This is exciting. Thank you everyone who joined us today. And yes, if you have interesting projects of tough use cases, you name it, issues with your CSV pipeline, you're looking for ways to secure APIs, please reach out, let us know. We have Ben and Brendan here, and of course, booth 4830.
Okay, if there is no additional questions, appreciate everyone staying with us for so long. We got an amazing crowd and amazing questions today. Hopefully it's been interesting for you, and seems like many stayed well until the end. So thanks everyone again. Thank you, Avi, for running this webinar with me today.
Absolutely
And
happy
until
to be
next time
here.
then.
Till next time. Bye guys. Bye everyone.
Thank you everyone. Bye.